Alright, welcome back to lesson 15. This lesson is titled Powers and Roots. Okay, first thing we need to talk about is what is a power. Okay, this is what a power looks like. A power has two different parts to it. This big part right here is called the base. And then the little guy over here is called the exponent. If we want to read this, this says 2 to the third power. Okay? Or we could say it is 2 cubed. Either way. This is 2 to the third power. So, there are three different ways that we can write 2 to the third power. Alright, the first one is in exponent form. Well, exponent form is just like what we already have, where we put 2 to the third power. Okay? Now, expanded form. This is where we show that we know what exponents mean, okay, and how they work. So expanded form is very important, probably the most important part of this. And you've done this before, okay? This big number, this 2, can you remember what that does? Okay, that is the number that we're going to multiply by itself. Okay, so we're going to take 2 times itself. And we're going to take it times itself however many times this exponent tells us to. So this says 3 times. So that means I'm going to take 2 times itself 3 times, or 2 times 2 times 2. Okay? So again, this big number, the base, that's what we multiply together. And the exponent is how many times. Now simplified, that's just where we write what 2 times 2 times 2 actually is. Okay, what the answer to that is. So if I rewrite it, 2 times 2 times 2, well, 2 times 2 is 4. And then 4 times 2 is 8. Okay? Now we do a lesson about talking about how to show our work. I expect to see this kind of work right here. Okay? On the simplified version. So show me what the exponent means. Then actually multiply it out in steps and give you an answer. Okay, let's talk about some examples. Okay, objective 1 is to simplify powers. Okay? In our steps, first we're going to write it in exponent form, so we're going to rewrite the problem. Then we're going to write it in expanded form, and then we're going to evaluate it or simplify it. Okay? So example 1, 5 to the 4th power. First thing I want you to do is rewrite the problem. So it's 5 to the 4th power. Okay? Now we write that in expanded form. So again, my base tells me what number to multiply together. My exponent tells me how many times. So 5 to the 4th power means 5 times itself 4 times. Okay? Now we need to evaluate it. Okay? Or get an answer. So I need to actually multiply things together. Again, I want you to show this work like this. Okay? So 5 times 5 is first. That's 25. Then rewrite everything you didn't use. I still got times another 5 and times another 5. Okay? Now 25 times 5. That's 125. We got times 5 more. Okay? Now I've got 125 times 5, and that is 625. And that is simplified. Okay, so again, we wrote it in exponent form, we rewrote the problem. Then we wrote it in expanded form, show me you know what the exponent means, and then multiply it out step by step. Okay? Again, make sure this is a time sign. Alright, so now let's do B. Again, rewrite it in exponent form, so 10 to the 4th power. Now, expanded form, okay, base is 10, so we're multiplying 10 together 4 times. And now, we just need to multiply the numbers together. So, 10 times 10, that's 100. 100 times 10, that's 1,000. And 1,000 times 10, that is 10,000. There's our answer. Okay, let's go to some more examples. Okay, this example says to write the prime factorization of 72 using exponents. You've already done this before. Okay, we did this in the prime factorization lesson where I said write the prime factorization in expanded and exponent form. Okay, so you've done this once, but this time they're specifically telling you to use exponents. So, prime factorization, again, we can break it down with a factor tree or downward division. It's up to you. We'll break it down both ways. How's that sound? For those of you who like one or the other better. So 72 can break down a few ways. Let's do 8 times 9. Okay, neither one of those are prime, so we have to break them down more. 8 is 2 times 4. 2 is prime, so we circle it. 4 is not, so we break it down. Now both of these 2's are prime. Okay, 9 breaks down into 3 times 3, and both of those are prime. Okay, now let's go ahead and go over here and break down the 72 with downward division. So again, we always start with the lowest prime number. We know that's 2 if 2 goes into it, and it does. And 72 divided by 2 is 36. 2 goes in again, and 36 divided by 2 is 18. And 2 goes in again, 18 divided by 2 is 9. 2 does not go in this time, so now we gotta try 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Again, now we're gonna circle all of these on the outside. Nice Iowa Hawkeye booty. Okay. So now the first thing we do is write this in expanded form. Okay. Now these are both the same thing, so we're going to take it and first in expanded form, we're going to write it all out. So we've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Okay. So there's all our prime factors listed out. Now again, for exponent form, we want to combine any bases and write this simpler, okay? So one of my bases, one of the things I'm multiplying together is 2. I'm going to ask myself, how many 2's do I have? How many times multiplying together? That's 3. Okay? So this, okay, 2 to the third power is the same as 2 times 2 times 2. Well then, now I'm multiplying by some 3's. 3 times 3 is the same as 3 squared. Okay, so here's my answer in exponent form. So when they say using exponents, that's what they mean. They just want exponent form. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so example 3 says, this figure shows a square floor tile that is 1 foot on each side. And it says, find the area covered by the tile in square inches using this formula that they give you right here. Okay, well, they're telling us, okay, to find it in square inches. Well, we know that a square floor tile is 1 foot on each side. So really, they already took this and told you right here that 12 inches is equal to a foot. Okay? They made it in inches because we're trying to find our answer in inches. So, we're going to use the formula, area equals side squared. The first thing you should do is rewrite that formula down. Area equals side squared. Okay, so again, S means side. Now, why would they say side instead of, like, normally when you find area, it's length times width? Well, that's because for a square, all the sides are the same. Okay, so every number is going to be the same around the square. So instead of saying area equals the length times the width, they're going to say it's side squared. So now we just have to plug in what our side is to the formula. So our area equals our side, they told us is 12 squared. Okay? Next, we need to write that out so we know what we're multiplying together. So our area equals, well, 12 squared means 12 times 12. And 12 times 12 is 144. Again, notice how I showed my work in steps there. We need to start doing that a lot better, so make sure that you are doing that. Okay? So, our area equals 144. Well, 144 what? We were trying to find it in square inches, so I'm going to go ahead and put that label on there. Inches squared or squared inches is the same thing. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so example 4 says to express with exponents. Okay, now first thing I'm going to do, and I want you to do it for these notes just so I can make sure you understand what this even means right here, because it just looks like a lot of random stuff. Okay, so we need to know what it means. I'm going to write it out in a different way. Okay, so this means 2 times x times x times y times y times y times z. Okay, when there's no sign in the middle of these things, we have numbers and letters put together. When there's no sign in between, that means everything's being multiplied together. Okay, so again, if you understand that, you don't need to show me this step, but I just wanted to clarify what this actually means. So it's 2 times x times y times y times y times z. Now again, we're looking for things that are different bases that we're multiplying together. Well, I'm using a 2, okay? And how many 2's? There's just one of them. So I don't need an exponent because I know that this means 1, 2 right here, okay? This is 1 of the number 2 that I'm multiplying together. So I don't need to put a little 1 for an exponent. I could, but I don't have to. Well, that's the only one of those, so now we're multiplying. What's our next base? We're multiplying some x's together. Okay? And how many x's? There are 2 of them. Then we're multiplying some y's together. Multiplying 3 y's together. And then we're multiplying by a z, and just one of them, so I don't need the exponent with that. Okay? Now again, you can write it with these dots like this, but when we're using numbers and letters, you don't really have to. Okay? So what I can do is I can just take those dots out. So I can make this 2 times x squared times y cubed. Oops, let me erase that. I don't know why my iPad likes to do that sometimes. Okay? X squared times y cubed times z. Again, this right here is the same as this, but we don't need to have the dots in between when we're talking about letters and numbers. Okay, let's move on to another example.